Hi, and welcome back. Tammy here, your artist from TMH Art Studio and also Dream Big art classes. Welcome back to Wrap Up Thursday. So again, I'm still working on my lovely sunflower here, but at least my sunflower's done. So we're going to work on the greenery. So let's go ahead and jump right in. So I am working in acrylic paint. I'm using different varieties of my selection of, are you guys seeing it? Green, several greens and blues, yellow, white, and I might add some more to it. But that's what I'm working with right now to bring my greenery to life. Again, like most artists, they may use a lot of paint. I use as little as I can because I hate to see paint go to waste. But I also like to build my paintings up, so every now and then I need to add more, which is no problem, but I'd rather work with something small and build my way up. If any of that made sense, I'm happy and give you kudos for what I just said. I kind of feel like I'm rambling here a little bit. So I noticed on some of my petals, which every now and then I will go back in and touch up some of them, which I did not include, do have these little extensions on the end of the tips of their petals. So I might every now and then go in and touch those up. And that's also what's great about working on this once a week for an hour. I could do more, but I just don't have time like that with a freelance job and then trying to teach. I have to work with the hours that I have available. So yeah, so what I'm doing now is I'm able to come back with fresh eyes and really see what I'm working on that I might have overmissed the last time I worked on this painting, which was last Thursday. So I hope that you've been working with me over the last few weeks on your sunflower, and I hope in time you'll show me yours on what you've been working on. That would be totally awesome. We all need each other as a support system to be each other's cheerleader. I'm slowly trying to get back into a group of artists. The pandemic, it's been kind of hard to actually get back one-on-one with people, but things are slowly in a roundabout way coming back to, I don't know if we'll ever be normal again, but things are starting to have a calmness to it where before everybody was panicking. So what I'm doing, I'm just going to go in and I'm just going to start building my leaves up in their colors and just keep building like I always suggest. I'm looking at my shapes and seeing what color goes where and just follow the shape. Again, I'm always talking about shapes. That's what you should be looking at. It all comes together, surprisingly, through the shape. Instead of looking at the whole leaf, look at just the section of the area that you're painting. Go ahead and draw it out, get it all laid out where you need it, and then go in and just follow. If you want to work on the highlights, what is the shape that's happening in the highlight, and just keep working and building. So I hope your guys' week has been going really well. I've been trying to come up with some new ideas for paintings once I get really caught up, but there's still quite a few paintings that are on a very large scale that is going to take me a little while to get to. This one I was hoping to have done within a month's time, but and I probably would have if I was putting more hours in. So right now, thus far, I think I have 5 hours in on just doing this sunflower. That's 5 hours on this sunflower and partial leaves. So that should tell you something right there, that in order to get a good painting out to your liking, it does take a little time. Now granted, there's others that can probably paint this a lot faster and their technique is way different than mine. That's fine, but that's not where I'm at or what I want to achieve right now. Yes, I'd like this to be done in a timely manner, and like I said, if I was pulling 2 to 3 hours on it, it would be done sooner. But I don't know about the rest of you, but I don't have that kind of time. But I wanted to still keep painting. I still want to do what I love. I mean, it'd be great, like some who this is all they do for a living is paint, paint, paint. How awesome would that be? And one day it'll happen, but for me, but I don't want to wait until I retire and say, okay, look, now I've got all the time in the world. I want to enjoy it while I'm still young and can enjoy it, and not do it because I'm retired. You know what I mean? I don't want to use retirement. Oh yay, I'm retired. I can paint all I want, which true is what will be. But let's build. I want to build to that. I want to build to my retirement. So again, I'm just following my reference and just working with what I'm seeing, going back and forth. And again, the way I am doing this sunflower, I know my very first sunflower that I started on this, which I was not in the right frame of mind, I am going to have to go back in and refreshen it up, which when I get to that one stage, you'll see. So again, always remember to keep your brush damp. So you may have to drop it in water every now and then just to move the paint back around. If your brush is too dry, you won't be able to move it. And what you don't want to do, which is why I have so many unfinished paintings, is don't allow yourself to get stuck. What I made the mistake was, since one area wasn't working and I couldn't pull it together, I just walked away. I'm like, that's it, I'm done. Instead of saying, all right, maybe working on the petals, I'm not in that right frame of mind. Let me go to the leaves. But I felt like, no, I gotta do it in this order and all of that. There's no order unless you create one. So I learned that the hard way, where I should have just jumped in and picked up and started working on the greenery, or just let that sunflower alone and start on something else in a different area. You are allowed to get stuck and pick another section. You don't have to necessarily stay there and try and get through it. But just makes it more aggravating, and then before you know it, you've tossed the painting across the room, or you threw your paintbrushes out saying, I'm never painting again. In fact, I started a new painting 2 weeks ago, and I thought, all right, brand new painting, I'm ready for this. And I started painting on it, and it went totally downhill. There was nothing I could do to make it work. I approached it from several different directions, and it just wasn't coming together. So instead of just saying, all right, that's it, I'm done, I did put that painting aside, but I picked up something else, and it connected. I connected with it. Everything just started coming together. So I knew that I wasn't ready for that new painting, but I was, my mind and where I was at was ready for the one I ended up deciding to do on new painting for Wednesday. So don't get frustrated. Just take a step back and saying, okay, I'm still going to come back to this one, but I'm going to set it aside and start a new one. But when it comes to the ones that we've already painted and we really want to get those further along, don't walk away from those, because we've already walked away from them enough. Just find the painting that you're excited about because you're seeing it with fresh new eyes. Pull that one out and start working on it. This one, I just happen to have it here in the office, and decided, all right, I need to get back on this one, because it was sitting here staring at me. And I did that on purpose so that when I walk into my classroom, there it was in my face saying, hello, hey. So the more and more I would look at it each time I came in, the more I started getting a little excited about it, like, all right, I think I'm ready for this. Because it gave me time to review it, to think about it, to see what direction I want to go with it. Now, granted, when I sat it down and started working on it a few weeks back, I am very thankful to get where I am here, because I kept at it, and 1 hour was really all I needed, not to, one, get burned out on it, but also not to allow myself to get frustrated. So these have these little wiggly things behind the sunflower. I think it's part of the where the seed, this section, what is that, the back of the flower called? The back? I know each one has a special name. I just realized I don't know what it is. The crown? Anyways. So I'm just doing a section at a time, feeling it out. I'm also seeing that there's some of my petals probably need a little bit more brightness added to it. But I definitely don't want to stay here too long, because then it'll never get finished, because I'll keep coming back into it and back into it and back into it, which is what happens. We have to decide when to stop, when to say, okay, I'm there, I got it. Right now I just want to come in and add a little bit of brighter yellow to some of the areas. So I'm just adding a little bit of yellow and white to pop it out a little, but not a lot, because then I'm going to be right back and focusing too much on this petals, too much on this sunflower, when I need to be happy with it. And I am happy with it, but I don't want to start getting nitpicky at this late in the stage of it, and you can. Personal preference. But again, I have to remind myself that not everybody's going to be looking at one petal, one on each flower. They're not going to see that. Only me and you working on ours will see that and focus on that where no one else will. So keep that in mind. So I'm just touching here and there. I just want to brighten it up a little bit. All right, so we're gonna go back to the green. I think I did that just to humor me. Like, okay, move on, let it go. All right, so we're going to, let me slide it over so everybody can see where I'm going next. Okay. So again, I lightly chalk this out, but that doesn't mean I'm going to follow this completely. It's more for placement. In fact, let me do something here. Again, since I am working flat until I can get other arrangements, I have to set myself up a little bit different. So right now I'm just going to kind of come in a little bit and start knocking out my leaf. You would think it's Monday and not Thursday. So I'm just going in and placing my the pattern. Now down here you might see where I did a light wash. This is not chalk, this is actual paint, where I'm just trying to get some ideas of where things are going. Oh, this is going to get changed. I found another flower that I'm more excited about, to give it a little bit different, a different look. And I'll list each photographer I got the flowers from, so I'm not using one photographer. The next flowers by a girl named Wendy, and I don't remember Wendy's last name, but once I get to that I'll make sure I tell you where I found her and her name and everything. So again, I'm just lightly, basically drawing it out with the paint. Again, everybody does and paints different. I think if we all painted the same, it would be really boring. I'm just getting my placement. So when I go back into it, I'm ready to do my blending. And really look at your painting, or not your painting, your resources. They're there for a reason, why you picked them. You like the way the shapes are, the patterns, or the shadows. So make sure you're following them to the best of your ability. And even if you're not able to match it exactly from the flower you put down, that's okay. Again, these are not, you're not going to have this side by side. So no one's going to go, well, that's off a little bit there, or you didn't do that part right, or, you know, whatever else they may come up with to point out. Instead of admiring it, if you had your reference next to it, they would be looking for your mistakes. And that's, you know, we are hard on ourselves already, that we're not machines, so we're not always going to get it exact, unless, you know, you're having it printed and then you're painting what you have printed. But even then, you know, we're still human. Now, saying all of that, which I've said in the past, there are people out there who are amazing when it comes to photorealism, that you don't even know that it's a photo. That it's, you know, it looks so much like a photo, you don't realize that it's a painting and not a photo. That's what I meant to say. I give them kudos for that. I don't have time for that, and that's also not my interest. And I also don't have patience, but don't tell anybody on that. It's just too much. There's just no way I can do or be able to curate something like that. I probably could, but again, I know I would get bored after painting on it. I mean, sometimes doing this, I have to get myself psyched up because I've been working on it for so long that I want to move on to something else. But if I do that, then this will never get done. So that's why I give them all kinds of kudos that they're able to work on that one painting for hours. I think I saw one where they spent over 100 hours on it. It was amazing, but there's no way. So kudos, high five, all that good stuff for being able to create those kind of paintings. And I even thought about maybe even trying it, but it would have to be such a small thing that I do. Because like I said, I don't have that kind of, I don't have that time in my life to, let's say that would take me forever. If I did it an hour a week, it would, I'd probably die before I got it finished. I'd have to do it from the grave. Or I'd have to go, Lord, wait. Let me finish this one that I've been working on now for 3 years, if not longer. And then you can take me home. I've got to finish this painting or this drawing or whatever it is. Okay, again, I'm just going in and I'm blocking out my color. You are able to just go in if you want and start painting it right away. But I'm trying to make sure that I've got my leaf just right, and I'm catching all my lines and my directions right here. Let's see. I need to move it a little bit more so you guys can see. I keep checking my camera. I have it where I have to stand up and look. I don't have it yet where I can see what I'm painting at the same time. So again, all I'm doing is I'm looking at my shapes. Just keep working and building. So if any of y'all, if I haven't said it already, are working on a sunflower with me, or working on this sunflower, you went out to Photo for Artists on Facebook and pulled this photo and are painting them right along with me, I would love to see it. That would be totally awesome. And again, I'm just putting down, locking in my color. And I'm using a lemon paintbrush, if anybody's wondering. I always tell my students, whatever feels good in your hand. I might suggest that this is what I'm using, but you're struggling with it, pick up another paintbrush, see if that feels good in your hand. I also like one with a nice tip to it, so I can use that as I need without switching brushes. I'm not big in switching up. I mean, I do have them to switch back and forth, but it's just too much time for me, I guess. Sometimes I'm not normal, but I try to pick one where I have the sides that I can use to lay it down flat to do my blending. My tip, if I have to go in and create simple line gestures, but again too, I'm not painting in large areas, so use what works in your hand, use what feels right. And I showed you my palette, and at the end of the day, I have way too much paint on there again, so I will be storing it in a plastic bag with a wet paper towel so my paint doesn't dry out, and I will be able to use it again next week. I know there's all kinds of containers out there that allow you to store your paint in different things. At home I do have a Tupperware container that lays flat that I use for the acrylics. Now watercolors, you don't have to worry about that because you can reactivate those with water. Acrylic, you cannot reactivate. Once it's dry, it's dry. Alright, so what I'm going to do now is I'm slowly going to go back in and start painting a little bit more detail on my leaves. Again, I'm just looking at the shadow and working my way up from there, and then slowly add in my highlights. That's what's good about acrylic. You can go either way, but go with what's comfortable with you. If it's easier for you to go in lighter to darker, then do that. Sorry, I had to close the door. then just whatever works for you. I like to blend a lot, and sometimes going from the dark and then to my light gives me a better blend, or the color that I'm trying to achieve. And then when it's dry, I can go back in and put a little bit more of my highlights in. One thing you got to be careful of is that you don't want it to get muddy. So just keep that in mind. Keep looking at the shapes. The one thing I would also suggest every now and then is if you're struggling, paint upside down for a little bit. Turn your reference photo upside down, turn your palette upside down. You don't have to turn yourself upside down. I would get dizzy. But paint a little bit different, break up your routine and come at it from a different angle. You might find it very refreshing, and your eye is not trained to see it that way. It's making you see it completely different, because when it's upright, we're seeing it all the time. You get conditioned that way. All right, so I usually don't like to, it's as a last resort. I'm not exactly getting the color I'm looking for right off the bat in the shadow. So I'm going to add a little bit of black to give it more depth. And you don't need a lot of black, it goes a long way. And like I said, you got to be careful too. Black will make your piece go muddy, so just be very sparingly on it. I just put a little bit on my paintbrush, and look how far it's already moving, or I'm not adding a lot to it. Now, granted, if I probably started off lighter, I could have built it up without adding the black, but sometimes you do need to add just a little bit of black. I use black as my last resource. If I can't get it across in my colors, I will add a little bit of black to it. And again, look, I'm still just using that little bit that I put on my paintbrush. I'm starting to feel my brush go a little dry. It's getting hard to move the paint around. So, and I apologize if you're hearing other conversation. I do share my space with a tire company. They're allowing me to rent out a small office, but they do tend to sometimes get a little noisy. So again, I'm just working and building my colors up. If you find after a bit that it's just not coming together, walk away from this area and work on a different part of the leaf. Sometimes what happens without you realizing is it is coming together, but you've been focusing on it so much that carpal tunnel like viewing, you're only seeing that and not the whole picture at this point. Because right now it looks like a hot mess. It doesn't look like anything, but it's the building process. You have to keep building and working with it to get it to where you need it to be. So don't look at what you haven't touched yet. It's so easy for me to look at this and going, oh, it's just not coming together. But I haven't worked on this area. All I did was knock it out. So don't beat up on yourself yet until you've gone back into it and started reworking what you've already laid down. Again, if you find yourself getting stressed, get up for a little bit, walk away, come back and sit back down. Or put on some of your favorite music, so you're not getting stressed by what you're working on because you're losing yourself in the music. So again, I'm kind of just, I went back and got a water brush to move my paint around a little bit. So slowly this will come together as I keep working it. It's just, it's a process. It's something you have to keep painting and painting and building. That's why there are people out there who probably paint sunflowers all the time, and the leaves that go with them that can whiz through this. Well, I am not there yet. But then I also don't paint sunflowers all the time. And if you want, you can speed this up to get to the next part, or pause it and work on whatever leaf you're working on, and then come back to see what I might do somewhere else. So again, all I'm doing is I'm looking at my shapes. So this one has a lot of is a lot lighter, so it needs a little bit more white than usual than the other part, but I also don't want to blast it out with too much white because I still want to have color in there. So again, just keep looking at the side of it and just keep working it. And I do go back and look at my videos to see if anybody has responded. And of course right now I know not many have, because I'm just now putting myself out there to be reviewed, even though I have already voiced my opinion last time on this. I am getting some very ugly spam on my YouTube, which is ridiculous. It's like, people grow up, we're not in high school. So even though, yay, I had someone responded, boo, because it's spam. Now I'm trying to get a clean edge here, but the reason I'm struggling with it is I don't have enough paint on my paintbrush. So be aware of that. If you're happen to bend your paintbrush too much and it's not flowing, it just means you don't have enough paint on it. And every now and then just rinse your brush off, because too, when your paint builds up too much on your paintbrush, it's hard to move it around or get the effect you want, because you're fighting with just way too much paint. And even though I'm barely putting any on my brush, it's still building up. So keep that in mind. If your paint's not laying down right, or it's just coming out really weird, rinse your brush off so that you have a clean palette on your paintbrush, and then go back in and work it. And sadly, even though I got more than I got done up here, that was from last week, and this one I think I need to work on it a little bit more. I think it's still too dark on the it's blending together, there's no break in it, so I may have to go back to that one. As we can see, I'm not rushing on this, and it's taken me an hour, or will be taking me an hour, just to do what little bit I've done. So I mean, we still have time, but this is again just showing you that if you want to do it right and don't want to rush through it, where you feel really proud about your piece, it is going to take a little bit more time. And don't get discouraged. Just keep at it, keep working it, keep painting. So the next painting after this one, I'm looking forward to it, and I'm not. I'm looking forward because I need it done. I'm not looking forward to it because it was a wedding gift, which is way overdue. And I am going to surprise the person by just leaving it at their place with the permission of his wife, and have him stumble across it like, it's finally done, it's finally here. But he wanted a really big painting, and it scared the bejeebies out of me. I got overwhelmed. I got the background done, and I got his portion knocked out, but then there's all of that having to go in and pull it all together. And I still have to do her. It's a large portrait of them in knighthood. They're big into, there's a bings and bangs and noises going off everywhere. They're big into dragons and castles and stuff. So it is, someone else did a similar painting to it, but I'm not selling it. I'm just going to use the concept of it, and it's a gift. But I will be sharing that with you guys. Again, like I said, it's a wedding gift that I've been sitting on for quite a few years now. 3 exactly. Yeah, 3. Yeah, the little girl turns 3. And they have a second baby on the way. So I need it to be done before they go to college. Oh, it's sad. It's so sad. So sad. So we're all not, we're all great artists in one way or another, but we're all still human. I would love if all I did and was able to do was paint every day. And I could, but I have other obligations that doesn't allow it, like working for a living to pay the bills. My art doesn't pay the bills yet. That's my goal. We all need a goal so that we can work to reach it, especially if it's in our art. So again, I'm just following my shape, and see, slowly it's coming together. Now, you would think that if for beginners you're looking at it, you just paint a green leaf. If you stop and really look, you're going to notice that there's all kinds of colors in it, and from shadows to the highlights, the middle tones, everything. There's just so much going on to make it as real as and as close as you can. So you just keep working at it. Really stop and look at your subject. It used to be at one point, whenever I would do anything, which I went for a job, and when I explained what I did, I didn't get the job because of how I did my work. But I was very young and not naive, but I was approaching art and everything I did a certain way, I would take the time out and research my subject matter, especially when it came to animals. I would look at their skeleton, look at their fur or their skin, or just to get to know them, so that if I was to run with them or hang out with them, I would know them. And what helped is also when I paint them or drew them, I knew how they moved and everything, that I was able to bring them to life, or at least I felt like that's what I was doing in my work. I did learn a lot about the animal that I didn't know, so that was kind of cool. And so it has its pluses and its negatives. Now the pluses, now I want to do endangered species, which once I get a lot of these done, that's going to be my focus, is that making people more aware of what's going on out there through my art. And so that's I'm kind of excited about. But I'm hoping too, since I stepped away for a long time, that fixing these and wrapping up my paintings that I've started and working on some really basic new ones, when it's time for me to actually take a step back and work on what I want to work on, I'll be even more ready and in a place that I'm excited about. Now, see, when I was telling you I had to be careful about my black, that it doesn't get too muddy, that's what's happening right here. It's starting to get muddy from adding black, and I didn't add much. So instead of leaving it there, I'm just going to go ahead and blend it in. So I'm still using what I have, but if I kept adding more of that on my brush to here, it would have not been to my liking of where I wanted to go with it. So again, a little bit of black goes a long way. And that's also like with red, I think does the same thing. Again, if you're leery about some things, take a step back. But in the end, have fun with what you're doing. When you're not having fun anymore, and it's time to figure out, all right, what changed, what happened, someone comments something and now I lost my joy, am I just not in the right place, have I made it too hard for me? Instead of just going with the flow, I'm actually making it more like a job and not a hobby, if that's what you want it to be, as a hobby. Eventually I'd like for this, or love for this to be a job. So again, we just keep building and working and moving across. That's what I love about listening to music. You can get lost in your work. Now, granted, I'm not able to listen to music while I'm working because of sensors. And I think that's why I've been talking more than I need to be. Is to make up for the silence. So my goal is, before my hour is up, to try and get this painting, or this leaf done. Now again, the next flower that I'm going to be putting on here might cover up a portion of this leaf, but what you want to do, if you're planning ahead or you have this already mapped out, you're going to know if it's going to go over top of it. But okay, so let's say I had a leaf coming over top of this. I don't want to cut out around my next flower, because what if you made the flower, by the time you really got to painting, the flower ended up being too small, and then you've got this big opening where you didn't go back in and finished up the leaf. So what you always want to keep in mind is that even if I've got something over top of this, I still need to pretend I don't, and that it's going to be seen. So I want to make sure that it is completed, because what's nice about acrylic, and it's also oils, you can do the same thing, except you have to treat it differently. I do eventually want to try oils again. I think there's enough information out there now of how to be taught correctly. Anyways, with acrylic, it is so easy to go back over top because it dries quickly, unless you're using a medium where it doesn't dry. The medium gel, and it keeps your paint on the canvas wet longer. It doesn't dry wet right away. I'm slowly trying to work and reintroduce myself to that for one of my paintings, for the new paintings that I want to use it in. Building, look at your reference photo. Make sure you're following the shapes. Like I said, everybody paints a little bit different, so your painting will not look like mine. Mine's not going to look like yours, but that doesn't mean there's something wrong or anything wrong with it. We just see things slightly different. Do like that. I just work on it for an hour, and then when I come back I can see it with fresh new eyes. And right now I'm not getting burned out on it. I'm kind of looking forward to when I'm going to pick it back up again the next week. Because right now I'm not liking what's going on here, and I know there's many artists who will not say that, but I guess I also too don't want you to think I'm this perfect artist who knows what they're doing half the time. I don't. I can't explain what I do when I do and why I do what I do. Say that 5 times fast. It's kind of going with a feel. What is it? What's it saying to me? What is it? What do I want to bring out? So sometimes it is a feel. And again too, I'm right on top of it. When people look at paintings, they're supposed to look at it at a distance. And I'm sitting here right on top of this. And when you're looking at it from you know, further away, or even where you guys are looking at it, you're seeing it a little bit different than the way I'm seeing it, since I'm like right in its face. I'm adding some blue here and there just to give it a little bit more depth without using the black in all the areas. I'm trying to incorporate some of the blue to break it up a little bit, and also to give it a darker, deeper shadow. Because when you add blue to black, it does appear deeper. Now I know when I come back in, like I said, next week, that'll be a good time for me to go in with just some washes to brighten up some of the colors or deepen some of the shadows. Because with it still slightly wet, you really can't put a wash on top of it without picking up the color underneath. But when this is nice and dry, you can add a wash. And it just creates another look. So again, when you're working on these, really pay attention to what you're painting. All right, so we have come to the end of this painting on just doing a few leaves. So I'll definitely will be picking this back up next Thursday. I'll be going in and adding a few highlights here and there on what I've accomplished today. I need for it to dry a little bit in order for me to pull off some of it. So what I'm going to do before I sign off is I'm going to go ahead and put my stem in. Just so this way I don't have it sitting out there floating. I'm grounding my stem. So I'm just putting a light wash in of color. Alright, well, I do hope you guys enjoyed this portion of the sunflower. Next week I'll be working on the other section of the leaves. Like I said, what I want to do is I want to get as much done in putting this sunflower together with all the branches that come off of it, the stems, everything. This actually would come down even further if I'm to connect it to this stem over here. But again, I know there's going to be more sunflowers coming in. There is a big leaf I might put here that's coming out towards us. So yeah, there's still lots of work, and this one I'm kind of designing the bottom portion as I go along. I had a mindset of what I was going to do with it, but each time I pick it back up, I'm changing my mind. I'm seeing something different, something new, which is kind of exciting because now I don't know how this is going to end in the sense of what the final piece is going to look like. It's going to be a surprise for both of us, or for all of us. So again, thank you for coming. Today we worked on greenery, which also incorporated different shadows, using our light to dark, making sure that we're looking at our shapes as we're doing this and just not guessing at it. So I do hope you enjoyed it and are working on your own sunflower. I would love to see your sunflower and the one you're working on. I would love it. We need to be each other's coach, cheerleader. Shows that we have each other's back as we're creating and enjoying what we're doing. So I'm here for you, and I know y'all are here for me. So again, thank you for coming. I look forward to seeing you next week. Please subscribe, give me a thumbs up if you'd like to see the continuation of the flowers, and then plus many more of what I'm going to be doing, from a portrait painting of a knight and his lady to I think I have a carousel horse in there too, so that I need to finish up. So again, thank you again. Sorry I keep babbling on. Again, thumbs up, subscribe, and I'll see you guys next week on Wrap It Up Thursday. Y'all have a great day. Until then, bye.